We are so happy to be here again on another Friday that feels like, a century ago that we were here last. A lot has happened. And we, of course, are going to dive right in with the hottest topic, the Hunter Biden interview. I have seen clips. I watched the first hour. I still have to watch for myself the others, but I've seen a lot of it. And I know you've had a lot of discussions about it, Tiff, and you posted some things online. In fact, Myron was the first one that I saw, the first post that I saw about it, which took me to the interview. And I watched the first hour and then I was like, okay, I'll come back to that.
It's long. It's the well, so let's be good. There's two different interviews that Hunter did this week. One, well, he did it before, but it was released this week. So first is the Channel 5 interview with Andrew Callaghan, I think his last name is. And I'd never heard of this guy before. So I was like, ooh, let's see what this is about. And I saw the clip, the one where he's just going off on everybody. And I was like, and I was that day I was in the car. I had a 3-hour drive. I had to go to Pennsylvania. So I was on my way home and I was like, oh, I have nothing but time and opportunity to listen to this. And I was like, OMG. He went all the way in. I was like, he brought all of his energy to get everything out. And the parts I think that most people, the political people, were paying attention to was him talking about obviously the 2024 race, because there was a lot of things that had happened in that race. As we all know, a year ago at this time, Kamala had just got into the race and she was trying to get her nomination, and we had a lot going on. So I think most people were focused on that. But there's the first like 2 hours, he's mostly talking about himself and his addiction, which is I thought was actually admirable. There's people out here talking about, he's a crackhead and all this other stuff, which I find so disrespectful because yes, he was on crack, he was on cocaine, he is an alcoholic who's recovering, but that doesn't make him a bad person. There are many people who have had addiction, and the fact that he can so readily talk about it and be able to speak truthfully about it, I thought was actually admirable. And the guy asked him some really so questions. I mean,
That
he
Let me stop you there because that was one of the first responses that I saw, and I was like, let me back out of this and just let it get time to season a little bit, because the first comment I saw was Myron's, and then I saw a reply that said something about, yeah, I appreciate it, but basically implying he was an imperfect messenger. And or maybe it was to a reply to one of your posts about it.
right, he probably
And
was.
that really ticked me off because I'm like, here we go again, seeking these perfect messages and messengers, the unicorn that everybody keeps
No
looking
such
for.
thing. Yeah, there's no such thing. And listen, Hunter has all rights to speak on his own personal experiences, and he has a right to speak on his father's experience because he was living it as we were in real time, watching all of this unfold, and he was way closer to it than all of us, right? I mean, he was right
Hmm.
there. And so it was interesting to see his perspective. One, because it was how I felt at the time. And I think it's how many of us felt at the time, that we didn't, we knew that Joe Biden was old. And as he said, this whole Jake Tapper thing, like what did Jake Tapper discover? That Biden was old? We already knew that. We've been known that. It wasn't a secret. We knew that when we elected him the first time that he was old.
And
So
we
this
know the presidency ages
he
people
just
like in real time.
seriously, it most definitely does. And we saw Joe Biden come in 2020. We saw him leave in 2025, and he was a totally different person in terms of his the way that he was walking, the way that he was talking. And that said, it aged him, and there was a lot going on. I mean, I don't think people recognize all the things that were happening towards the latter part of his presidency, with his son being prosecuted, Hunter, who we're talking about. The Republicans attacking his son, a war that was going on that we were not necessarily in, but we were involved in. There was a lot happening. So I appreciated his candor, and I appreciate him speaking in a very truthful tone and being open and honest and not holding back, because a lot of times a lot of people who are politicians per se, they will hold back because they have to appease their donors, or they have to appease, they have to be politically correct. Puncher didn't have to be politically correct. He could say F you, F your mama and your cousins and all them too. And he didn't care. He was like, that
And he used that F word a lot.
yes,
I
yes.
love it because that was one of my first curse words and one of my favorites still.
That's just when I see there's a video on TikTok where it's like Hunter Biden headlines, and they have all the clips of him saying F this, F that, F this. So I'm like, this is perfect. So listen, he talked the thing that I think that people appreciated was he was authentic, right? He was his true self. And we have been waiting to see somebody just say it like it is, right? And we finally, unexpectedly, I didn't expect Hunter Biden to be the person to just go balls to the wall, but he did. And you know what? I'm not mad at him, right? I'm not mad at Hunter for coming with all his big D energy and literally just telling it like it is. And there was things
If
that he said that I know
if
that
not him, who who better? I mean, because a lot of the energy was focused around him. And he was not in office. He was not elected to anything. But that whole his dad's whole presidency was about them weaponizing the DOJ against him and his family,
even
especially
before,
Hunter.
even
Yes,
before, I mean, literally Trump got impeached because of Hunter and Joe Biden, where they were talking about the Burisma thing, and he's holding aid and weapons that we were supposed to give them, all because he knew that Joe Biden was going to run for president, and Joe Biden hadn't even announced he was running for president, and at that time, what was that, 2019? He hadn't announced that he was going to run.
right,
He
right.
announced I mean, did he announce? He might have announced at that point, but when did he get impeached? 2018 or 20? I think he got impeached 2019 because I was on vacation when they were doing all those hearings. So at that point,
Yes.
Joe Biden actually did. He probably did already announce it. He can remember he announced in like April. So he probably did. But the point is that he went after their family. He was doing stuff to try to stop Joe Biden from becoming president. Joe Biden, proceeded, and he ended up winning the nomination. And I kind of like the part where he was talking about South Carolina and how
Yes.
when he when they were going through all of trying to grieve Bo, that they felt safe to go to South Carolina, and that kind of speaks to why South Carolinians, they always put it on Jim Clyburn, and yes, he is the kingmaker in South Carolina. People respect his opinion, but Biden has a relationship with people in South Carolina, with the Black churches. He has said that when he was feeling down, the place that he and Jill went to was the Black church to get their faith restored. So there is a relationship there that I don't think a lot of people really understood, or they just thought that Joe Biden waltzed into South Carolina and he won. But Joe Biden has been building blocks in South Carolina for many, many years. And they
And
rewarded.
his authentic relationship shows. And it's also why the Black community connects with him because people know when you're real. And his connection is real.
Yeah, no, his connection is definitely real with the Black community. I don't think he has that same relationship with the Hispanic community, but he does with the Black community, even as he said with his whole corn pop story and the work he was doing, civil rights work in Delaware. So this is who Joe Biden kind of grew up with and grew with as he got older, with the Black community in Delaware. So I think that was really an interesting thing for him to say. And I found it all made sense. I mean, we've heard it, but it was nice to hear it from Hunter himself. And then, just talking about Nancy Pelosi, he's very upset with Nancy Pelosi because even in the
Aren't we all?
I don't know if most people have watched it. So that was the Andrew Callahan one, but then there was also the Jamie Harrison one, which was excellent. It wasn't as provocative, but it was also very kind of biographical of who Hunter was. It's only an hour long, so I really suggest everybody listens to that one. It's definitely a slower pace, but one thing that he did express, and he did curse in that one too, but not as much, was when he went off about the Pelosi's again. He's very upset with them, and he's upset that they said something about his mom, which he did not like. The one of Pelosi's daughter basically calls her like Lady Macbeth and told her she needs to put her like big girl panties on or big girl drawers or something to that effect.
Which one of the daughters said this? Was it the
Ale-
docu the
Alexandria. Uh, that's not
mhm,
the one.
she's the one that the document the filmmaker.
No, that's Christine Pelosi. That's the one that we see most of the time on Twitter. This is the one that helps take care of Dianne Feinstein. She's kind of like you don't want to really see Alexandra, which is why it's like, why did you even speak up and say something negative about Joe Biden? Like, it's like ridiculous at this point. So he was pissed off. He cursed and then he cursed about her. He was very upset with her. I understood. That's why he's very protective of his family.
Me too, but I think I'm really upset with her because I'm one of these people who I don't really fangirl politicians or whatever. I mean, I enjoy them. And I really try to amplify the good work that I see them doing. Some I'm more partial to, I guess, than others. I like their style or what they're doing, and I try to amplify them. I'm a bit of a cheerleader, maybe. And Nancy Pelosi was one of those people. I don't do it with a lot, but I felt like her legacy, what she had done, her track record, her work, I felt like deserved that. I had a lot of respect for her. And so for me, it was a real gut punch for her to behave the way that she did. And the minute that she came out with that, um, well, I guess President Biden thinks she is kind of thing, which was not a full throated endorsement of Kamala Harris. And I have listened to her and watched her. I knew then that she was on some shit.
Right.
And it just went downhill from there.
Yeah, no, I think it definitely went downhill from there. That was in 2023-ish. Like at the end, I think when they were questioning her about Kamala Harris, like that, is should she remain VP? And she was very like mealy mouthed. She didn't give like a full throated endorsement to say, yeah, no, Kamala's doing a great job. And it just felt like a betrayal from that point on. And then we get to 2024 and you're on Morning Joe and they're asking you, about Biden. And it's like Hunter said, there was constantly like some pivoting. They're moving the goalposts. They're saying, you need to do this interview. You got to do this. Now you got to do a press conference. Now he goes to the NAACP. He gives an amazing speech at the NAACP, gets COVID. And now the question is, what happens next? They send Chuck Schumer to his house while he has COVID. He's home. And you know what? One thing that Hunter said, and I said this at the time, I have the tweet where when Biden got COVID, that me and Biden coincidentally got COVID 2 days apart. So I got
Well,
COVID.
you're always out there in the middle of that campaign
No.
season. So.
Yeah, I was at an event a week before, so Biden was doing that event that week. I was doing my event, and I think he came up with COVID on Tuesday. I got COVID on Thursday, and we were both in the house miserable for that whole weekend. And I think what happens is that Biden he this and Hunter said it was like kind of it felt like divine intervention at that point because I also said that thing. I literally have the tweet that says it. It feels like divine intervention. I knew at that point that Biden was going to have to drop out, but I wanted it to be him to make that decision, not all these other people because Trump had already been attempted assassination already had occurred. We saw that the impact of them going at Biden constantly for 3 whole weeks was taking a hold. And at that point, he had no choice but to drop out. And he knew that, right? But he had to make that decision on his own. He got the polling, he saw it, he made the right decision, and he left the race because there was no going back at that point. I mean, there was no,
Yeah.
what could have
That
been,
whole
what,
thing would go ahead.
yeah, no, I was gonna say what had people acted a little bit different after the debate, maybe we have a different conversation. But the way people acted after that debate, there was no going back from that, especially after the Trump attempted assassination. Like, that was the end all be all right there. Like I knew it was a wrap after that.
Yes, it really was, and I that was, again, another gut punch for me, but again, like I said, that 30 minutes that we were held in limbo when he dropped out, and I felt like, again, another gut punch. That 30 minutes, I tell you, if it were not for my friends like Soul Sister and LMZ, I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. And then he made the announcement. I was like, okay, I can breathe again. I felt like I was holding my breath for those 30 minutes. Not it just I was like, what in the world is going to happen to us, But then he seamlessly came out, endorsed her. Win with Black Women was on it, already had the funds for her. I mean, things started rolling, and she did a fantastic job. Let's go to something else. I want to divert a little, but it's part of this same thing because I'm seeing this resurgence of people acting brand new to her policies. Like,
Mhm.
why didn't
Yeah.
she say this? Why didn't she say that? Like, are you kidding me now? Really? Like, Mandami just kind of came out of the blue with ideas about rent control and housing. Like, what what in the world? And this is the information war that we're living in because people still do not believe or recognize that these were the policies, that was the platform on which she ran to make people's lives better. Kind of like that dude that I encountered a few weeks ago, maybe a few months ago now, who said, like his whole take on Kamala was um, a noun, a verb, and abortion. I'm like, where were you people? And that I think speaks to the kind of information bubbles that really do exist. These silos, where these people form these opinions about a candidate or people just based on the information that they're getting, where they get their information
That's
in their groups.
Yeah,
So I
no.
know you can
Yeah,
speak on that.
yeah. I mean, we've had this. We probably since the beginning of doing this show, we've had conversations about messaging and the Democratic Party and what do we need to move going forward. And I think when I saw that Laverne Cox interview, it made me. It gave me two. I had two takes on it. One is Kamala had 107 days to campaign. People keep forgetting that. So what is discussed over a year in most campaigns was discussed in 100 days. Now think about it. If you think about it like this, today is July 25th, right? Kamala Harris had 107, 100 and at this point she would have had 102 days to run for president. How unfair was that to Kamala Harris, who did a remarkable job of trying to message as much as she could in that 107 days. But what you can get to the people in 107 days is not much, especially people who are already feeling like they're done with politics. They don't care about politics anymore. They're pissed off about the war in Gaza. They're pissed off about inflation. And as Laverne Cox said, she said, she may have talked about it, but it didn't get to the people. Yeah, because the people were not tuned in. They already had made up, many had already made up their mind that they were not going to vote, or they were dejected about, there's people that were definitely dejected about the fact that Biden dropped out. They had a loyalty. Hunter says this. There are people that had a loyalty to Joe Biden, and when he dropped out, they kind of lost focus. One can say, well, maybe those people were racist, maybe they were misogynist. There's many reasons why people have loyalty to certain people in politics. So I'm not going to even dissect all of that. What I'm saying is that there are people who were who disconnected from politics altogether for whatever reason at some point and never came back into the fold. There are also contrarians, like people who said that Kamala was not black. There are people who just didn't care about policy. They somehow believed Trump over anything. They fell into the cult. There's people that we know that 6 million people did not show up that showed up in 2020. So we know the numbers. The numbers are there to back this up. The problem that I have is that we keep trying to reinvent the wheel on messaging. The messaging was there. They were not in tune with the messenger. Let's be clear about that. They were not in tune with the messenger. And the messenger that was delivering this information was Kamala Harris. For whatever reason, they tuned her out, or they wanted to hear a different message, the people that were listening, right? Trump was giving them something that Kamala wasn't giving them. And you know what that is? Lies, lies upon lies. And he was
Lies,
saying,
lies, lies. I just
he,
saw a poll that I have to read. I just glanced over it. I said I was going to send it to you. I said, because this is right up Tip's alley, polls and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But about independents now dropping away from him, like his ratings now,
100%.
he's like 3 points above where his lowest point when he left office. I think it's like 37%. And let's talk about that a little bit, because I see people again trying, of course, this Epstein thing, which I think is like wild, that this is what is sticking. But it's sticky, let it stick, because pedophilia is
Thank you.
horrendous, and anyone involved in it, supporting it, enabling it, should be held accountable. And I think that goes across the board, and I think that's the way most Democrats feel. It's not a political thing. This is a humanity.
Exactly.
This is about social justice and the victims. Like my heart bleeds for these women who have been dealing with this now for like 30 years, like 30 years, and how traumatized they're feeling, because all of this is coming back up. And I'm going to connect these dots here when you say messaging, reaching the people, because now people already are starting to call this, when I say people, I mean these right wing people, inferring that Maxwell is some kind of victim.
Right.
Like, that is how quick their messaging turns, and people start pumping it out. And that is it's not the Democrats' message, or really their messengers. I think it is the mechanisms in which, like, their distribution, and which is why we keep doing what we're doing. And I know that you and Kenny and Zach are, doing your weekly show. And when you guys decide on the name and it has its own channel, we'll bump it up here. Maybe I can join you guys sometime, or get a couple of you to come on, because this is what we need. And I love that this weekend, or this past weekend, Zach and Kenny and some other content creators were in New York with the CBC, and did some interviews. And I feel like, for me, that's the missing link for Democrats. and that that they don't get. And this is where I feel like the older people, that some of the younger um, progressives seem to think should just be thrown out because they're old, very ableist. I don't agree with that, but some of them have not been able to adapt
I
to
agree.
these new ways of communicating. It's not that they don't understand things, but they are still stuck in these old ways of running politics and speaking about it and connecting to people. Like again, Pelosi, I think maybe a week or so ago, she was interviewed and said that this Epstein thing was a distraction. I mean, like, her timing is off now. She's not with it, because while it may be a distraction, for someone who's interested in policy, it is very much key to one, the division that is occurring in the right, in his base. And I think we'd be foolish not to recognize where those fissures lie, because that should be part of our strategy. I'm not saying that we take on the Epstein thing, but to ignore it, one, because like it doesn't matter whether he's in it or not. The man died on his watch, all of these things. The fact of the matter is, it's something that's horrific. It's something that the conspiracy theorists, like, platform for, years. And so now they're having this moment of cognitive dissonance that I feel like with good strategy can be capitalized on by Democrats.
No, for sure. I think, yeah, that whole distraction thing pissed me the hell off. And I think that made me so mad because Democrats never know how to play freaking offense. And this right here is like something that we could exploit, like not in a bad way, but again, we are a party that
That's just good strategy. When you exploit, you see the weaknesses within the opposing team.
we already had Elon like 2 weeks ago, or was it, probably a month now. So July, actually, it's been more than that. I think that was June 5th that had this tweet that he had, said something about Trump and this Epstein thing, and this kind of like exploded even further than that. And I mean, this has been going on for months because Pam Bondi said that she had the files on her desk. I mean, she just straight up lied, right? She probably did have the files on her desk,
They
but
were licking their chops waiting to get those files. She had all
remember
the
they did the
visuals.
whole, remember they did the binder, they had all those
Yes.
and didn't get anything, right? So you have people within MAGA themselves who are very upset about this. I've been on secretly on those spaces. Thank goodness for anonymous. You can go on those spaces and listen to
I
them,
know.
and they're very upset about this because QAnon, that is one of their issues. Their issue is pedophilia. They are against which everybody should be against pedophilia, right? I mean, that's not, but the problem is that they had their pedophilia things were things that were like insane, right?
Made
But now,
up, like kids going to school and becoming furries and that
and
kind of mess.
pizza places and all kinds of stuff that didn't happen, and the Illuminati and all this other stuff. But now it is in their own backyard with Trump, and he is not helping this. Okay, every day he comes out and he reads a tweet and makes himself more guilty. And I was watching. I hate Andrew Schultz. I cannot stand him. I think he's a bigot. But I watched a clip where he was talking about it because and Joe Rogan and all these people. I see the clips. I watched them just because to be nosy. But I saw one on Twitter yesterday, and he was basically saying he voted for Trump, but he said what makes Trump seem more guilty is that he keeps bringing in Obama. And when he did that, that like that a clock went off or something went off in their head. And they're like, yeah, once he like tried to implicate Obama, that made me think that he must really be involved in this. He is definitely involved because he's trying to deflect. So people are catching on to what Trump he even said, he said Cash Patel and Dan Bongino were people who were really focused on this Epstein thing. And now they're trying to like silence, or they feel like they're trying to silence them. They'll blame Pam Bondi because, you know, a woman is always going to get blamed for stuff, even though we know she's covering up for Trump. And these men are now being like, oh, well, what are we going to do about this? How do we go forward? You know, what is Dan Bongino going to do? What is Cash Patel going to do? Nothing. They want to keep their jobs, right? They haven't gone anywhere. They can quit whenever they want. But Trump is scared. He knows that he has involvement with this man. They try to bring Bill Clinton into this all the time. And you know what? At the end of the day, like if Bill Clinton was a pedophile, I would tell him to go to hell. Like we all would. It doesn't
Yeah,
make, like we don't care if any Democrat is on that, they need to go, they can go to hell too and should go to jail because you should not, pedophilia is not okay. That's wrong,
right.
dead wrong. And I mean, listen, we know Bill Clinton is, you know, he's definitely a planner. He was
Or
definitely, yeah, he's a star. He was definitely doing things that he wasn't supposed to be doing. But he did it with hopefully consensual
I
relations
know. Hmm.
and adults. And this is a whole different kind of situation. The whole Ghislaine Maxwell thing is bullshit because as I was watching Lawrence, I didn't even realize this, that she was actually involved in a lot of these sexual
I
acts.
Yes, I remember that, and that's why when they said that they were going to talk to her, like, okay, but just keep in mind, you're talking to a convicted pedophile. Like she was part of this. Like for me, I feel more grossed out by her behavior because it's like people exploiting their own people, like the FBA and the ADOS. I hate people that are exploiting their own people. That this woman is exploiting other young women and she is participating in it. It's really to me just it's gross for anyone, but to me that is another level of ugh, for her to be doing this and grooming women. And I do know that I think the Democrats have, somebody that is going down to talk to her, I think August 12th, because Blanche went down to talk to her yesterday and apparently is going to be talking to her today. And, all that is, in my opinion, is him, getting her to get her story.
Or
And
he's coercing
yeah,
her. Let's be real. There's
it's
something to be gained from that. What are they trying to make her either not say, or what do they want her to say? Are they giving her a deal? I think these are the questions that are being put out there. But I also think too, like one thing that people are missing from the conversation, which I thought Lawrence and I saw another post have the lawyer on for the victims. There are victims in this situation. Like you said, there's these people have been going through this for 30 years. This is from the 90s. This is not something that happened 10 years ago. I mean, this guy was whatever happened to him in jail, whether he was killed or committed suicide, he was or like he took his life. I don't know what happened. No one knows what happened, but he's dead. These women are still having to deal with this every single day. And this whole bringing this up is also detrimental to them as well. So I think people need to like actually think about the victims in this, what emotions this is bringing up, how it's bringing up emotions in other people who are victims of sexual assault, sexual abuse, rape, and all of these things that people are this is opening another wound that a lot of these people have, all because these people lied and said that they were going to, show these files, and we have yet to see these files. So it is frustrating on a lot of different levels, but I think that Trump is in trouble with this. He really is in trouble with this because
and
it proves that he's a freaking liar, and we all know that already. But some people don't.
right. Yes, and the thing of it is you can tell, like his tells are easy. Of course, he already gave this the hoax thing. It's a hoax, and that's kind of one of his tells when he's guilty of something or he doesn't like something, and the kind of stuff that he is doing to divert people's attention in the news cycle away from it. Of course, just escalates. It's gross that he has now, like I said, not just added Obama into this, but like literally accused him of treason, something that is punishable by death. And I don't laugh at these things. It's ridiculous, of course, but we
Right.
cannot laugh at the behavior of this man who basically sits in the highest office in the land and has no accountability. Like he has all the levers of power. He now has an expanded budget for militarization of police, and all sorts of things, not to mention the fact that he very much activates, sick people in this country, to spark them to do things. And the Obamas have suffered,
Funny.
this kind of harassment from the beginning of their rise to the White House, and he doesn't make it easier. He makes them more of a target. And I think that's dangerous because, again, like I said, no one's talking about the Democratic lawmaker who was assassinated just
Right.
a few weeks ago. Like this shit is real. It's happening, and
Absolutely.
he's inflaming it.
He is, and he just keeps adding more fuels. Like I said, he keeps adding more fuels to the fire. It's like I mean, we're even back to talking about Hillary. Like this is insane. Like dude, anytime that he is is put into like a corner, he then starts lashing out at everyone else, and that only makes his crazy people want to harm people even more, right? I mean, it's horrific the way that I just feel like you said to the media bias of it all. It sucks because you can see the differences in how they would treat a Kamala Harris or an Obama or any no one else would get away with the shit that he gets away with on a regular basis. They're not even harassing him like they would any other person. And not to mention, let's be clear about it's not just this. There's a lot of the polling that you mentioned. When you look at the polling, young people, I think the shift is like 54% from last year when they voted to now. Like young people, what the hell were you thinking? Like what the hell were you thinking? Because this man is crazy and now we are stuck with him. We cannot get rid of him. We may never get rid of him at this point. I mean, I praise God we
And
can't. But it
yes,
just feels like that.
because this,
So
yes, a
yeah,
failing of civics education, which is something else that, since we've talked, of course, they've um, gotten basically the green light to go ahead and destroy the Department of Education. And the education that is being given is that of indoctrination. Like they are already teaching in school systems that the election 2020 was stolen from Trump in Oklahoma. Okay. And now they're also, it was something else. It'll come back to me that they have changed recently. And speaking of which, I have a documentary watch that I'm now hosting every Friday on Spoutable to help kind of um, mind the gap that is being left with, the information not getting to people. And we're watching movies and things because some of these people now, for it's been going on for a while, but they, of course, are working hard to take away our history. And we have to make sure that people do understand it. And I think a lot of these young people do not understand. Tonight, we're watching Vigilantes Inc. And a lot of people do not understand the long, horrific history of voter suppression. This week was also marks the, I don't want to say, but the anniversary of the Detroit uprising. They call it a race riot. But all of these things are connected to now in that policing is used in this, and it's police um, violence, or like targeting, profiling, these kinds of things. And now this man, he has a budget, He has a willing cabinet. He has expanded the border patrol, just creating all the elements of authoritarian, style rule. And it's black and brown people who are going to suffer the most. But even some of his people will get caught up in it,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I had this conversation with my grandma because we were at a funeral this week and we rode in the car together and we were just kind of talking. First of all, I was like, okay, we're going to funeral. I don't want to talk about politics. But somehow we got in the car and and the 20-minute ride ended up being all political. And she did, first of all, she doesn't know anything that I do with politics. So this is my grandmother's sister. It was my grandmother's funeral. So she just got in the car,
Oh, I'm
but she
sorry for your
oh,
loss.
thank you. But she, it was actually a therapeutic conversation because it validated a lot of things that that we were that I think and I talk and we talk about is and again, she doesn't know anything about my politics or what I do, but she has a son who's 50, he's 54 years old and he's disabled and she's worried. She's worried about the fact that with this bill passing that a lot of the services that he gets through Medicaid will be eliminated. And so we're talking about people that are actually utilizing the services. And, we were just talking, we were just having a good conversation, about who's going to get impacted by this. And like I said, a lot of these people will be impacted by this. People who are on Medicaid, who are getting SNAP benefits, they're telling people they need to go work. And they're saying, they're basically calling them, the welfare queen is now the welfare dude, I guess, because the welfare dude is now the dude who sits at home, who's 35 years old, who lives in his mom's basement and watches TV all day. And that's the person that they have decided is going to be the welfare dude.
Yeah, sounds like their base they're describing, though, to me. I don't
Which
know.
is, no, they are. He's like so wild to me. I'm like, your people are going to be pretty upset that they have to go to work to get their benefits. All those lazy suckers are going to have to go to work because and that's what we were talking about. See, my grandmother, obviously immigrant. My grand aunts, they both were born in Belize. They came to America, and she was saying, "Listen, we come and we work. We do these jobs. We are people that come to this country, they want to work. They don't want to be on public, assistance. They want to be able to come. They may come for a little bit, get on assistance, and then they're ready to work. It's there for as something of if you in case of an emergency, like if you need it, right? But now the way that they have depicted this as now all of these illegals are, taking advantage of the system, and that is an unfair thing to say because we know that that is not true. These people are working their asses off. Most people are on Medicaid are working. They go to work. Some go part time. Some are only some are only able to do but so much work because they have a disability. And so, what do you do then? Like, people, they're like, "Oh, these able-bodied people," but who is determining who is able-bodied and who's not able-bodied, right? I mean, if you're 60 years old and you are retired, there and you might have Medicaid, they're like, "Nope, you can't have Medicaid because you got to go to work because it's from 19 to 64." Like, this is the kind of thing that people are not taking into consideration. Also, you have the people who are on ACA, right? We have my daughter's 26 years old, about to be 26 in September. The subsidies that are available for the ACA, as of January, they are no longer going to be in effect. So we have to figure out what to do with her own medical policy. You know what I
Right.
mean? So there's a lot
Right.
of this stuff that people are not thinking about.
Right. And I, during my work life, worked for a lot of like small companies who couldn't afford to pay for insurance. So those are the kind of people that are also going to be affected. Like I work for doctors who would not see patients without insurance, yet provided me no insurance.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah,
let's
these kind of things, Z, this is the kind of things that people are not thinking about, but it's going to hit them really, really hard in the next year and a half. And what are they going to do then?
exactly. Let's talk about a couple of things that he has passed recently that this EO. I'm not exactly sure because I haven't like read it in depth, but now he wants cities to crack down on homeless people.
Oh my God, I saw
Like,
that this morning. What the hell was that? I thought
I,
when
I
they say a
mean,
concentration camp or like a camp for homeless people.
like this is why I am doing these documentary watches. Like this shit reminds me of the stuff that was done during Reconstruction and even, in the early 1900s where people were, targeted as vagrants or whatever, like sharecroppers. They they had to take whatever unfairness was being given to them by these previous slaveholders, which now they're in a different type of contract or whatever. But if they decided to walk away from that contract, then they would immediately be labeled as vagrants or whatever because they didn't have jobs, and then you can put them in jail. Like we are going backwards, like it is like a time machine, but going in the opposite way. And it's so crazy that I don't understand why people do not see what is happening and where we are. Like Jasmine Crockett spoke, and I did a clip online to Laura Coates. She did an interview talking about this um, gerrymandering that they're doing.
Yes, let's talk
And
about it. Let's talk about
yes,
that. I don't know if you saw last night. Isaiah, our friend Isaiah Martin, got arrested for speaking up at
no,
the. Yes, he did. Yeah, go find it. Yeah, last night. So Texas had like their it was like a hearing where people could come and talk about the redistricting. So Isaiah went and he spoke up at this hearing, and he went over time, and they came and they escorted him out. The guy like grabbed him. They ended up falling on the floor, and his brother said he was arrested for disorderly conduct.
get out of here. Now that's just crazy. See, this is what I'm taught. We are in the hot danger zone right now, and the velocity. Like, I get that, the Epstein stuff is important, but there is a lot of stuff that's going on that people need to be aware of that is causing us a lot of harm and danger. And people like, the Martin brothers, who are very civically engaged. I feel like it makes it more difficult and more dangerous for people to speak out because, I mean, of course, he got Colbert fired, but then South Park came back and gave their first, episode just tearing him apart. But I'm gonna have to check that thing out with Isaiah. I had an interview that should air in like a couple of weeks with Lauren Ashley Simmons, who is now a House representative down there, and she was talking about them. She was getting ready. In fact, I hope it'll be a good quality as far as audio, good enough to hear because she was literally in the state house interviewing, like in a little
Ah,
hallway,
okay.
talking to me. But I think that it's important we talk about this gerrymandering, and I know Gavin was here in Tennessee when he
Oh,
talked
what?
about doing
Okay.
doing the yeah doing the same thing, like expanding, the gerrymandering there in California and blue states where they can. And I saw a post last night about some other people, Pelosi, which and some other people, some other Dems in California are on board with because this is the kind of strategy we need to start looking at because Democrats keep wanting to play by the rules as we should when we
Exactly.
can, but we shouldn't create rules for ourselves that hamper us when we're playing with a team that has no rules.
Damn right.
So
And listen, to the point of this whole gerrymandering, redistricting thing, Trump has told his people, right? I want 5 seats in Texas, and now they're expanding that out to even further, right? And Democrats can't just sit back and be like, oh, they're not going to really do that. That's not. They are telling you what they're going to do, and you better
They told y'all about Project 2025, and
exactly.
some of
Maybe
y'all.
like you listen, like maybe listen this time. And so I appreciated Gavin Newsom. Even there's a commission. He's like, screw the commission, get rid of the commission. Let's do us. New York is saying that Kathy Hochul was like, okay, well if y'all want to play games, we can play games too. Democrats have to fight back. Even in Maryland, we are very gerrymandered state, right? We try to do like maybe like we have 8 seats. So 6 of them are just blue. 2 of them are, one is Andy Harris, and that one is, they made that district to be like he's gonna win it every single time, the way that the thing is built. Then the other seat is on Western Maryland, which was the Trone seat, and now April McLean Delaney seat. That seat is like a purple seat, right? So fine, we're gonna win that seat in the West, especially after Trump did not give these people any money. FEMA, they're not giving FEMA money, but this is a whole nightmare, right? So the Republicans are waking up to that bullshit too. But so we threaten. We don't even have much to give, but we at least threaten to say, listen, if you try it, we are going to redistrict the shit out of Andy Harris's seat, and we will make that seat competitive because right now it is a safe red seat. We will make it competitive, and then what? So there are mechanisms, and even if we can't necessarily do what we need to pretend like we can do what we can do, right? Because that's what they're doing. They're
Mhm.
if you're gonna threaten, we gotta threaten back. And I don't want to hear the nonsense. And people are like, "Oh my God, we can't." No, the part of this game is that you have to slap them right back with the same bullshit that they are doing to you, and you cannot
Match
sit
that
back and watch.
energy.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Match that energy. You cannot sit back and be like, oh, we'll just wait and see what they do. There's no waiting and seeing. You need to have a plan, be proactive, know what you can and cannot do. Gavin's like, you take 8, I'm taking all them damn seats. Okay? Don't play with me. New York,
Yes,
we will do the same thing. You people, the New York legislature is like, oh well, we don't know if we want to do that. I don't care if you want to do it. You're gonna have no choice. Do you want to keep?
this
You
is
want to
about,
or not?
and this is about, this isn't really political, even though it's politics. This really is about saving our democracy. Because
Exactly.
as Jasmine Crockett pointed out, she said this isn't just a Texas thing. It's not even just a United States thing. She said this is a global thing because that if they take the House, they're able to keep it. They will determine, they are the ones who will certify the election.
Exactly.
Okay. So it matters. And we already see that even with their elections, they are willing to try to unseat people. Like, look at what they did down in North Carolina. They took away the power, they stripped the governor of a lot of his power. They fought and fought until they lost, but they took it for months. The Supreme Court seat
Yep.
down there. And we have to look, they are relentless when they
They
want
sure
something,
are.
and they are willing to break rules. We don't have to break them, but we can bend a whole lot of them. And look at, okay, we cannot leave without talking about this. Like, they don't care about the judiciary either, because Elena Haba up there, her time passed. The judges up there in that federal district didn't want her, appointed someone, and Trump then said nope, and named her assistant or whatever, which is like this
Right.
loophole where, again, she's in office and they did this with someone else. This is how relentless they are. And we have to match that
Yeah,
energy.
Democrats gotta get this shit together, okay? I mean, listen, I'm a Dem all the way through. I but I watch and I see how people move. And like you said in the beginning, when we had started this conversation, some of these people are not built for this fight. And if you're not built for this fight, then you need to go and sit your ass down and go retire and enjoy the rest of your years and let someone younger, let someone who has the fight in them to be and not scared. Like all of this scared shit, I don't want to hear this anymore. We need people who are willing and able and ready to take on the GOP and the foolishness that they do. And I don't want to hear none of this anymore. I don't want to hear, we're trying to be, we're trying to, save face, or we're trying to be politically
No
correct,
bar,
or
no
yeah,
bipartisan crap and
yeah, I don't hear about
kumbaya.
bipartisan. Yeah, I don't hear none of this kumbaya bullshit anymore. Like, let's figure out how we win, because these people are ruthless. They are ruthless and they have no chill. So why should we, on the other hand, sit back and watch the show play out when we have to win? There's no doubt about it. And it starts in 2025, right? We always end the show kind of talking about elections. We Pennsylvania has 3 seats that are up in their Pennsylvania Supreme Court. We need to make sure for 2028 that we have those seats secured. This there is a lot of local elections. We need to make sure we have the right people in these seats. So I think, and especially our governors, like think about our governors, right? Josh Shapiro. We have who's up next year. Of course, my governor Wes Moore is up next year. There's also going to be a race in in Georgia, Wisconsin. A lot of these swing states, Wisconsin.
Tennessee has one soon, and Marsha Blackburn is going to be running.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that gives us
Oh my gosh, she's running for governor. Oh, wow, I did not know that. So, okay, that's interesting. I had no idea. Yeah, no. Well, Governor Evers in Wisconsin yesterday said he's not running for a third term. He's going to pass the torch. He's ready to retire, which is good for him. So there's going to be a lot of people running in that race as well. It's in New York. Obviously, also has a race. So Kathy, can I just say this? Kathy Hochul, to me, I've seen her in action. She's like a little tiny. She looks way bigger on TV. She's like 5 feet nothing, right? And but she wears high heels, so she looks bigger than she is. But she has gone from like one of like the people that I'm like, I don't know about her, to seeing her like transform into like this great politician. Like she is like she's about this. She's like, you know what? Some people just need to like have an enemy, I think. And so I think
you know,
she's become her
they
enemy.
need to have a mission, you know, like
Yeah, yeah. So like Biden was in office when she came in. Biden was in office, and she really didn't have like someone to kind of battle with. But now that she's battling Trump, she's like, screw that guy. I got this. No holds bars. Y'all can't do shit to me. Come bring it. Elise Slotkin, whatever her name is. Like I like that. I like the fight in her. I see the fight in Kathy, and she wants to do good for New York. So as much as people talking about Mamdani and all this other stuff, I want to give credit where it's due to Kathy Hochul for trying to one make sure that New York is more affordable. She did not back down on the congestion pricing. She has done some really good things in New York, and she's continuing to do so. Go ahead with your bad self, Lil Kathy Hochul. And so that's my shout out for this week to Kathy Hochul. Keep on, girl. We got you.
I love it. I love it. Well, my shout out is to Jasmine Crockett because she is always about that, and I love the new look that she has. I had
Yes,
to
little Bob.
yes, I had to kind of comment. Someone was in a space talking about like why is she changing her looks and that, and they had a lot of commentary about it, and I just said Black women change our looks all the time because we can.
Exactly. No, so I seriously, I love when I saw somebody. I call it a bow. Somebody said it was a robber because it's a little bit longer, which made me laugh. But no, I saw that look like maybe like probably 2 Fridays ago when she came on Simone's show, and I was like,
Yes, you mentioned it.
and
Yes,
I was
yes.
like, okay, Jasmine, I see you with your, usually she's like a big hair kind of girl. She's from Texas, so it makes sense. But the
Hmm.
the sleek,
I like
the,
big
the
hair.
sleek bob, yeah. See, I'm not a big hair kind of girl, but
Me too.
the sleek kind of look is looks good on her. And you know what? Maybe she, after she didn't get the oversight chair thing, maybe she's like, you know what, I need to switch it up, and I'm gonna be a different kind. Sometimes you gotta change the hair to be a different persona. So now she's like
Yeah.
very demure. She's like very demure Jasmine, still fighting spirit, ready to ready to battle and out there doing her thing. But listen, like I said, black women change their hair all the time. It's not a big deal. And I think she looks fantastic. So I like the look.
I love it. Well, Tiff, I have loved our conversation today as always. I can't wait to see what the next 2 weeks
The whole
bring.
week. Oh boy. It'll be August, D. It'll be August when we come back.
Oh my
Unbelievable.
God. I know. And, yet we're still here. And we thank all of you for joining us. We thank you for the hearts and sharing. And of course, we'll be back here in 2 weeks to chop it up and, see if we have any more fantastic interviews like Hunters. Let's see what else we have to talk about.
Let's hope everybody I want everybody to spill all the tea. I'm ready. Let's spill all of it. Let's get it out the way. We need to get it out the way in 2024, 2025, so we can focus on 2026. So bring
There
it.
you go. All right. Well, have a good
All right, guys.
afternoon and a great weekend. And you guys come and join me on Spoutable tonight, 9:30 Eastern time, to do a doc watch party. We're going to be watching Vigilantes Inc. and we're going to be talking about voter suppression. So join
All
us if you
right.
can. All right. Bye bye.